Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 5 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics right here on Apex Racing TV, where our GT3 and TCR drivers have embarked once again on a 7-round sojourn to some of North America's, Europe's, and Asia's most storied circuits. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod in the announce booth, and we've got, once again, the two Johns, Jonathan Grabowski and John Robertson, in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the best sights and sounds of tonight's action. And so tonight we travel to the Japanese island of Honshu in one of only two, yes, just two FIA Grade 1 circuits to utilize a figure 8 layout. I actually have figure out in my notes right here. A figure 8 layout. This 3.6 mile, 18 turn carnival was commissioned by Soshiro Honda as a test track and first saw action all the way back in 1962. And for as much as we wax poetic about Eau Rouge or the Kink, the speeds obtained through the iconic 130R and passes such as the one Fernando Alonso made on Michael Schumacher there, made in 2005, are in the annals of racing lore. And so thanks for joining us tonight at the Suzuka International Racecourse, or the figure out, one of the two. So good evening, Larry, and for the second time this season we find ourselves on the Japanese archipelago, and I won't ask you to compare and contrast Suzuki with Fuji, where we were for round number 2, but they really are almost as different as ramen and soba noodles.
I'm just glad you figured out how to say figure 8, but yes,
I still haven't.
And we are here on the main island, and at one of the world famous tracks that they run all sorts of racing at. And tonight we get to watch our fun GT3s, TCRs go at it here as we are round 6 out of 7. So we're starting to get to that, do it or lose it.
It's the penultimate round, Larry. That's right.
It is. And I think tonight we're going to see some big performances of folks who need points. I think it's going to be difficult for anybody to catch Evan Peichel, but hey, I've seen things crazier. But the battle for second, third, and fourth is still in play, as well as our AM category and our TCR. So I think this could be a lot of fun tonight to see who has the ability to step up, get the points that they need to set themselves ready for a finale in a couple weeks to try and win a championship.
Indeed, Larry. And so Fuji was just tight corner after tight corner after tight corner, seemingly a hairpin or something very tight almost every other time you turn around. Suzuka, much more wide open, I think much better suited to these GT3 cars at least, and maybe to the TCR cars as well. But let's do this. Let's turn things over to Kevin Ford. He's going to give us tonight's track guide for the Suzuka circuit here, as you mentioned, on the main island of Japan. Let's turn it over to Kevin.
Welcome, everyone, to Suzuka GP course located right here in Suzuka, Japan. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide around this historical road course that dates all the way back to 1962. That's when track designer John Hugenholtz designed it as a Honda test track. There are 5 configurations to the course, but today we'll be driving that 3.6-mile GP version. Well, strap in and hold on as we begin our track guide down the front straightaway here at Suzuka GP circuit. We'll be picking up a lot of speed as this is a downhill front straight. As you see us getting up through the gears into 5th gear across the starting finish line and heading down into that very fast entry of turn 1. 150 plus miles an hour down into here. Heavy on the brakes. You want to get a laid apex out of 2 here. Get a good solid run up into the left-hander of 3. This brings us into a very tight section. Really want to set up those exits to get that entry just right into that next corner. Here we're going to take a laid wide apex into 6. This will bring us up into 7. This is pretty quick through here. Once those tires heat up, that's pretty much flat out right up through this hill, this quick left-hander. This will bring us to turns 8 and 9. 2 very difficult right-handers coming through 8. This gets really tight here coming through 9. Let the car roll to the bottom, and then watch that back end coming up out of 9. Heading up the little short chute here, we're going to come around 10, and then ultimately into the hairpin of 11. Down on the brakes, laid apex, get a nice smooth exit up through the gears. And once again into a very fast section, a right-hand sweeper here that really allows you to open things up. This is going to bring us all the way up into turn 13, which is the spoon. Very large corner. First entry is pretty simple here. This is what gets tough, trying to find that late apex point, get that throttle down, and get that momentum coming up onto this very fast straightaway. A lot of overtaking opportunities happen right here. These drivers will be coming up across what's known as 130R. This is the crossover where you come out of the exit of turn 9. Going over that bridge there, down into 14 here. This will bring us to a very fast chicane. 15 and 16. Back down through the gears. Take just a very small amount of curb there. Don't want to upset the balance of the car. And then ultimately down the hill and out of 17, back up through the gears, and we return to the front straightaway here. And looky there, there's your track guide around this 3.6-mile very fast course of Suzuka GP circuit.
All right, and thanks so much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of wonderful, beautiful Suzuka. I'm just glad to be back at another track that has a Ferris wheel to give Larry and I something to do about 3/4 of the way through the race. All right, so we've got our drivers out on track now for their 15-minute qualifying session. And as we do every round here in the Ricmotech World Challenge, we give our drivers 15 minutes in which to set a fast lap. There are a couple of caveats there. We only give them four flying laps in order to do it, so they can use that 15 minutes as however they like, as long as they only cross the start-finish line 4 times. And as part of that, also, we give them what is known as a lone qualifying. So each one of these drivers, they're not going to have the benefit of the draft. They're not going to be able to work with any teammates. They're out on track all by themselves, trying to set that ultimate lap, to set the grid for tonight's 90-minute race to the checker. And so as we have our drivers now heading out, and I don't believe we have anyone yet who has put in a full flying lap and has put in a time yet, we will say as we take a look right now at Brennan Horn in the D2D iRacing Ferrari there. Brennan running in our AM category, and as with all of our other AM category drivers in GT3, he's got green mirrors, he's got a green window banner, he's got the number boards on the side of the car in green as well, and the end plates on his wings are in green as well. Those again are all of our AM category drivers. Our pro category drivers, let's see if we can pull up one of them, gentlemen. Our pro category drivers, they will have red mirrors, red number boards, red windshield banners, and red end plates to their wings, much like Jack Harrison there in the number 27 Porsche 911 GT3. And then, of course, our TCR driver as well. I think you can pretty much tell the difference between a big GT3 car, big rear-wheel drive machine, and the front-wheel drive TCR cars. But they will have the blue number boards, the blue mirrors, the blue windshield banners, and the blue end plates on their wings. And for the most part, I think you're going to see Civic Type Rs and Hyundai Elantras out here tonight. They don't look anything like a Mercedes AMG GT3 or a Ferrari. You gotta
squint really tight, then you can tell. Yeah, it almost looks like a Mercedes.
Yes. You know, maybe the extra doors tip it off. I don't know. But we've got our very first times coming in now. And with just one flying lap in the books, our provisional pole sitter is Travis Schwenke in the Orion Racing Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo with a 156.51 as a fast lap time. His teammate Robert Hartley comes across the line just 1/2 second off, and with a 157, we'll call it a 157 flat. You know, I guess we can give him the benefit of the doubt in the extra 0.006 of a second there, but 157 flat. And then Nick Resputo in his Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, the 132 machine, currently third fastest with a 157.32. We've got a few of our AM category drivers that have put in a time. John Sterling there in the number 87 Porsche 911. Your fastest of our AM category drivers at a 158.97. Steve Daniel in the SKKJ Racing Ferrari 488, pardon me, the number 96 car, a 159.05. And so not a lot of ground separating Sterling from Daniel. Russ Ruddick in the number 95 Lamborghini. There is Russ. He is currently your third fastest driver. And actually now let's make him your fourth fastest driver at a 159.56. And that is because Alex Brown in the number 43 BMW M4 GT3, he goes to the top of the AM category leaderboard with a 158.46, so about 0.11 of a second clear of Chris Thorman, a little bit more clear of Nate Thomas, who is our second fastest driver in the class. Brown, seventh fastest overall.
Yeah, so off to a pretty good start there, and he is in the middle of a points battle. I'm sure we'll get to that in a minute, so it's going to be important for things like him. As I mentioned earlier, one of those points battles is our GT3M, so Alex Brown's going to need to get off to a good start and get a good points summary tonight, as he's got a pretty good battle there with Dean Dibdahl, Steve Daniel, there, and John Sterling even. All four of them really tight in the GT3M categories. That'll be a fun one to watch here tonight. Yeah,
well, you know what, Larry? A good segue here. Let's quickly take a look. So 2 weeks ago when we were at Hockenheim, Alex Brown was our winner in GT3AM, taking the win by 1/3 of a second over Dean Dibdahl, and Steve Daniel finished a lap down from our leaders. But if we take a look at the point standings now, with 6 out of It's actually, pardon me, 5 out of 7 rounds complete. You can see that Steve Daniel, he is currently your points leader with 102 points. He's got a 13-point advantage over Dean Dibdahl, and Dibdahl only 1 point up on Alex Brown, and only looks like only 4 points up on John Sterling, who's currently sitting 4th in the championship. Nathan Thomas, who we may hopefully be speaking to here pre-race, he is currently sitting 5th in the championship in the Driftline Racing Lamborghini. Not all that far back, but you can see how closely aligned. Russ Ruddock certainly not out of it yet either in that Flying Tortoise Motorsports Lamborghini. Only 1 point back from Thomas there, so real close running. Let's take a look over at GT3 Pro, where 2 weeks ago taking the win, let's see here. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong list. But Evan Peichel, who has pretty much run the table so far this season, Larry, started on pole, took the win, margin of victory, 18, almost 19 seconds over Orion Racing's Mike Dam. So the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing driver just putting another win in the books. Mike Dam, as we mentioned, second. Mike Dam's teammate, Robert Hartley, on the last step of the podium. And if we take a look at the point standings here, not nearly as close as what we're seeing in GT3 AM, as again, 5 wins out of 5 for Evan Peichel in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche. He's got 153 points. That's 18 points up on Mike Dam. It's then another 16 points back to Travis Schwenke, currently sitting 3rd in the championship, and you got to go another 7 points back to Jennifer McDonald. McDonald, who missed a round, is certainly looking to work her way back up, and she's in real good standing, given that she's run 1 fewer race, I believe, than most of our other drivers here.
Yeah, right now that's her drop. A few of the other drivers have drops, but also when you can actually replace that with something else, maybe she can move on up. So there's opportunity for her. But that battle for the 3rd spot in this podium is going to be a tight one, I think, come next week between Schwenke, McDonald, Risaputo, Rob Hartley. I think it's going to be really a close battle. You know, you talk about Evan Peichel, the domination we've seen from him. Mike Dam has been just as dominant. The problem is Peichel's been there every week, because Dam has finished 2nd in every single round. He's just been so hard to beat. So he's getting off the close, having that 2nd spot locked up. But the 3rd spot for that podium is definitely up for grabs. And he or she who has a good night tonight sets himself up for a finale to maybe walk away with a podium finish in a very, very deep pro class.
All right, so quickly, let's take a look at where we are in qualifying, and then we'll jump over to the TCR class and take a look at the point standings there. Travis Schwenke from Orion Racing, he is your provisional pole sitter with a 156.51, about 0.3 of a second up on last round's winner and every round's winner, Evan Peichel in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche. There he is on course. Robert Hartley from Orion Racing, currently 3rd fastest at a 157.33, so about a half a second off of Peichel's times. Then Nick Risaputo and Jordan Segrini, they're running 5th fastest in pro. In AM, Jose Cabrera now in the Ferrari 488. He is currently your provisional pole sitter in AM, 8th fastest overall. Alex Brown, our winner last round, 2nd fastest, and the difference between those two drivers just about 0.5, 53 hundredths of a second separating them. Dean Dibdahl in the ZP Motorsports Porsche, currently 3rd fastest. All right, so let's take a look at TCR, where 2 weeks ago Mike Polachek took another win in his Full Send Racing Honda Civic Type R, and I'll tell you, and as we'll look at the points here in just a moment, if Polachek had been here for the whole season, I think he, with the pace that he has been running, certainly would be the standout here in the standings. Eric Violette from D2D Racing in his Hyundai Elantra finished 22 seconds back from our winner Brad Husty in the Husty Racing Hyundai Elantra, came home in 3rd with Nick Horvath and Scott Brooks, the 2 Canadians, finishing 4th and 5th. And if we then take a look at the point standings in TCR after 5 rounds, Eric Violette is your points leader with 147 points. He's got a 20-point advantage over Brad Husty in the Husty Racing Elantra. And then you've got Mike Polachek and he is 34 points out of the championship currently. That's 14 points back from Husty, and he has only run 3 races this season out of 5. He's won all 3, but again, he's got an extra 0 point there. He's got his 1 drop currently of 0 points, and then he's got another 0 point race. So definitely hurting him in the championship. Only 1 point back from Polachek is Nick Horvath in the Lead Paw Racing machine, the number 82 car. He's 4th in the championship, and the TGT Racing entry, the Hyundai Elantra from Tom Jenkins, currently in 5th.
All right, tell you what, we have our pre-race interviewee waiting for us. Maybe we can bring him on in and have a chat.
Absolutely. That is Nathan Thomas, driver of the number 10 Driftline Racing GT3 AM Lamborghini Huracan. As we mentioned, he finished 10th last round at Hockenheim, but is currently sitting 5th in the championship, Larry.
Hey, Nate, are you Nathan or are you Nate? So we'll start with that.
Well, I've been called worse, so I will take either, but go by Nathan.
All right,
Nathan.
Perfect. Nathan, so I hear this is your first season in the series. What's your impression been so far?
Nothing but good things to say, specifically about the league. I mean, I raced an Extreme a long time back when we were doing Mustangs, and so this is a little bit of a step up. But no, it's been really good. I think I have a lot of work to do, but certainly from the league perspective, it's been a pleasure.
So you're kind of alluding to it. How do you think your performance has been so far? As I think Greg mentioned, about 5th in the championship right now, but little ups, little downs. But what do you think overall so far of your own performance?
Yeah, so a little bit challenging. Started out on a pretty decent high at Road Atlanta. Had some big challenges at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and then the remainder of the season's been, like you said, some ups and downs. Had I think a good showing at Indy. And then going into Hockenheim, things are going really well and managed to get some irreparable damage. So overall, I think I'm coming up. I've changed some things practice-wise that I think have helped contribute to at least a better survival rate and maybe some more calm nerves during the race. But overall, that's kind of where I think I'm at, ready for the remainder of the season to close out.
Yeah, you got a couple of rounds. Suzuka is one of the first ones. One of those tracks that seems to have been in sims and games for years. Are you familiar with it enough, or did you get enough practice in this week?
So I was actually out of town back home in Texas, so didn't get a crazy amount of practice in, but I did manage to get enough where I think I'm going to be sitting okay as far as making it through the race. So we'll see how it pans out. It's a tough track.
It's a tough track. It's a long night, so patience is going to be everybody's best friend tonight. Good luck to you. Hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to you in about an hour and a half for maybe a podium interview. So good luck tonight.
Sounds great. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Nathan Thomas, driver of the number 10 Driftline Racing machine. Not Nate Thomas. I'll get that by the way, minute 65, I'm sure.
You'll still be figuring that out.
Yes. All right, Larry. So we've got our drivers gritting up for tonight's 90-minute race. Let's run down the starting order. On pole tonight is Travis Schwenke from Orion Racing, and that Mercedes-AMG GT3 with a pole setting time of 1:56.509. Starting to his side will be the Alpine Geodesic Racing Porsche 911 of Evan Peichel, winner of 5 races here this season. Robert Hartley from Orion Racing will start on the inside of row number 2, and Nick Rasputo in the 132 HPDS machine will start 4th. Then we've got Jordan Segrini. He is going to start 5th tonight in the number 8 machine, and Jennifer McDonald in her in her BMW M4, the number 99 car from BTL Motorsports, going to start 6th. Then we've got David Payton and Chris Thorman starting 7th and 8th, and then starting 9th in Pro will be Jack Harrison.
All right, then we get to our GT3 AM, and our fastest pole sitter there is Jose Cabrera. He'll be on the inside of that row 6. Should be row 6. And on the outside is going to be Alex Brown, the Canadian, Primetime Motorsports. They're on the outside of that row 6. Next row down, Dean Dibdahl will be on the inside, and his Porsche lined up with the D2D E-Racing of Brennan Horan. The next row is going to be Steve Daniel, our points leader in AM. He'll be lined up with Nathan Thomas. We just got done talking to him. On the following row, you've got John Sterling from Team Collusion lined up with Russ Ruddock and the Flying Tortoise Motorsport. And then you've got John Casey from 046 Racing. And I'll go ahead and run through the TCRs. Pole sitter tonight in TCR is going to be Brad Husty in the Husty Racing entry. Alongside him is going to be Tom Jenkins in TGT Racing. Next row back, Jeremy Goringer from the Flying Squirrel Racing. Alongside him, Scott Brooks and Brooks Racing. And then you've got Marlon Jones on the inside, Ledpaw Racing, alongside Eric Violet, D2D Racing.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise there to see. One, to see Eric Violet starting at the back of the pack, but you also notice, Larry, there are a couple names not out on track here in TCR that we might have expected.
Very, very short warm-up lap. That's all they get.
And green flag is in the air for our GT3 cars as they spread out wide. We've got Evan Peichel to driver's left, going to cover now against Robert Hartley. On the inside, we've got Mike Dam, and then we've got Nick Resputo sitting in fourth in that black Mercedes AMG. And as they come through turn number 1 and start to make the run into the S's, it is Travis Schwenke, your leader, Evan Peichel, Robert Hartley, Nick Resputo, as we've got our TCR cars now, Larry, coming out of the final corner onto the front straight for their start.
All right, we'll take a look at them as we go split screen for this, and down the front straight, the TCRs will roll.
And green flag is in the air for the TCR drivers. And we've got Tom Jenkins in the number 68 machine to the inside, but right on the outside there, Brad Husty in the 137 machine. Didn't get the best start there, and so Jenkins in the 68 jumps to an early lead, move Husty back in the second, Scott Brooks in the 49 car sitting back in third, and then Marlon Jones sitting in fourth.
Everybody off to a good clean start there in both classes, at least, as this place is tight and twisty. We had our track guide, but I will tell you, I haven't run a lot of races here. This place is tough to pass. And there's a couple of opportunities for it, but it is tight. It's not the widest track in the world, but there's a lot of places, a lot of gotchas, a lot of difficult corners like this down here at Spoon, where it just is a giant decreasing onto it's the longest straightaway on the track, and then the infamous 130R. So it's a very difficult track to be precise. You'll see this train will start to spread out pretty quickly as we get into lap 2 and 3. These TCRs, look at them already side by side there, as you can see Eric Violet working his way through the pack.
Yeah, as he has to work his way up, and of course, as we mentioned there in TCR, some big surprises up and running off track there. That's Jose Cabrera, who drops off track in the number 18 machine. He's going to fall back now to the tail end of the AM category field, sitting back 18th overall, now 9th in class, but looks like he didn't fall all that far back. And take a look at this. As we're looking right here, Jack Harrison in the Porsche 911, the 27 car, trying to make a move on Daniel. Oh, and Brennan Horn goes around and gets absolutely clobbered there as he was trying to rejoin, and I believe that was John Casey.
And that's Travis Schwenke off now. So we got all kinds of offs here as we get lap 2 underway. Horn looked like he may have spun down there at the opening corner. Schwenke, though, up into the S's before he goes around and maybe have had some contact. And then there's Evan Peichel still out in front, but a whole lot of activity going on in this first lap and a half.
Yeah, so our pole sitter, Travis Schwenke, now falling all the way back through the field, back to 17th overall, back behind our entire AM field, and that does change things considerably up at the front of the field here, Larry, as Evan Peichel is your new leader. He's got now almost a second advantage on Robert Hartley from Orion Racing, and then we've got Nick Resputo in the 132 machine, the Mercedes, running in third. And so, you know, we've seen over the past couple of rounds where the Porsche has definitely had the measure of some of the other machines. For round number 5, we had introduced some balance of performance adjustments to a number of the chassis. The Porsche got quite a bit of weight added to it, had almost 45 pounds of weight added to it, and also had its fuel capacity reduced. The Mercedes also gained a little bit of weight, but only about 6 pounds. The BMW as well. So trying to give some love to the Lamborghinis and to the Ferraris, but so far hasn't really shown on track.
Not quite yet. We'll see how that plays out. We'll see if Hartley in his Mercedes can stay a little closer to the Porsche of Peichel as this race develops. We know how the season's been going with Peichel, essentially walking away. So this might be the Peichel tax, we're going to call it, on the Porsche there. But it also affects like Dibdal, and he's currently leading the M category. He's had some success this year in that Porsche. So it kind of hits everybody who's up and down the grid currently in a Porsche. This battle, though, this is Jordan Segrini getting chased down by Jennifer McDonald. McDonald's starting this race pretty strong. As we said, she's in that battle for that last podium spot. So this could be an interesting night to watch the ebbs and flows of a 90-minute race, see who can still be around at the end of this. We've already seen some offs. We've seen some contact and some damage. Folks here just have to settle in if they're going to collect any good points here tonight.
Indeed, and so now we'll jump over to our TCR battle here. Brad Husty continues to hold the lead right now in that number 137 machine. Then we've got Scott Brooks, but we're watching right now the battle between Jeremy Goringer and Eric Violet. Goringer, our sole Audi driver in the field, actually our sole non-Hyundai Elantra driver in the field tonight. And that is the battle right now for third in TCR. And looks like, Larry, of course, we saw that impact earlier with John Casey and Brennan Horn. John Casey did manage to limp the car all the way around, but he is now taken to the pits as well. Looks like he and Horn are going to be there for the long haul, trying to get some repairs done to their cars.
So with your points leader starting closer to the back of the pack tonight in the TCR field, with Eric Violet having to work his way through, Brad Husty out there leading the way. Husty comes into this down on points quite a bit to Violet. He needs a good points finish here. He needs to start getting some of those drops out of the way, those early season 6th places to try and move his way up here late in the season. Having Violet back there is really going to be a help for Husty. Polisek, you talked about him, not here again tonight, has wins every time he shows up. It doesn't look like he's going to end up with enough events to actually qualify for the championship. So this looks like it's leaning towards a Violet and a Husty battle as we start to build here in round 6 out of 7 in the TCR category.
All right, tell you what, I think we've got a replay here queued up, Larry. Let's take a look here as we are on board with the Ferrari of see as it goes around, impacting the wall. That was I think Brent was that was Jose Cabrera when he went around.
Yeah, that was still on lap 1 when he had done that, right going into that chicane.
That's right.
Just before we had seen our pole sitter get shuffled to the back in Travis Schwenke. But as we can see now, Peichel's lead now 2 seconds on Ricciputo and then Hartley.
Yeah, so Hartley dropping back in the 3rd position in that Orion Racing Mercedes AMG as we jump back and again take a look at this battle right now, the battle for 4th position in Pro with Jordan Segrini and Jennifer McDonald. And already you can see the major differences in driving the BMW versus the Porsche. Jennifer opening up many of these corners, trying to put as little load on the tires as possible here early on.
Yeah, 90-minute race. It's a good idea to actually save a little bit. This place is traditionally a little bit hard on tires, although it is good that it's equal wear lefts and rights, because it is, as you tried to say, a figure-8 course. Figure 8. And that actually does help the tire wear even out a little bit. But the tires never really get a chance to rest because you're under load. You talk about this short front straight down this hill, but then all the way around the opening, decreasing radius up to those S's, the tires just do take a beating. So it could be an important strategy to try and save some, depending on how these pit stops shuffle through here halfway through tonight's race. This could be a good one for someone who can save some tires to the end.
Yeah, and indeed, as I think we should also add David Payton, who's sitting right behind Jennifer McDonald in the number 64 Lamborghini. He is currently sitting 6th in Pro. Currently, there's another car in that grouping as well. That's our AM category leader, Dean Dibdal, trailing the field there, or trailing that pack in the number 19 ZP Motorsports Porsche. And I think he probably is going to be somewhat content to sit back there. He's got a little bit of a buffer back to Alex Brown currently.
I tell you what, he may not be too content. Is that lead over Brown is starting to shrink a little bit, down to about 3.5 seconds. He may actually think he needs to get by David Payton here on this next time down the long straight. You might see him try to get a move coming off of the spoon curve because he would like to build the gap, put a car between himself and his nearest rival, and sit in the back of this train. If Brown starts laying some laps down, we can have a battle on our hands.
Makes them vulnerable. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a look, Larry. I think we've got queued up. We'll see exactly what happened to Travis Schwenke, who was our pole sitter, and had a bit of an incident here. And you can see
caught the grass.
Yeah, caught the grass, and I think almost as importantly, caught the tire wall there. Drivers left as well. Of course, he did manage to continue, and he though is sitting down in 15th position. He has not made up any positions, I don't think, Larry, since he put that car back out on track there. Again, sitting 15th, and Russ Ruddick just behind him, not all that far back, sitting 16th overall, the last
Travis,
of our GT3 cars.
He's going to struggle to get through this, even if he had great pace, which obviously, looking at his qualifying result, he has some strong pace. As you can see, our GT3 pros now making their way through our TCR class at around our that opening car. Boy, it is tough there. Jenkins trying to stay out of the way of these guys. But no, talking about Schwenke, the difficulty now is this place is so difficult to pass. Even if you're that much faster, he's got to make his way through traffic. So he'll be trying to get on by, he'll probably be following Jose Cabrera. We know had his own off earlier in this race. But Travis now does get by him. Now he's got to get up to Nathan Thomas. And all these passes are just going to take time. And that's going to be tough, even on a 90-minute race, to try and make anything up. He'll be lucky to really get up into the top 6 or 7 by the end of tonight's race.
Yeah, and you can see there Jose Cabrera continuing to have some challenges in that number 18 Ferrari as Russ Ruddick in the number 95 machine gets by. And I think when Travis Schwenke came underneath and John Sterling came underneath Cabrera, maybe wasn't expecting Ruddick to be following along as well. Had to take a very strange line there as he let the 95 through. As we jump back, or actually jump forward. And again, looking at this battle between Jordan Segrini, Jennifer McDonald. Segrini now having separated himself out from Jennifer McDonald. McDonald falling back into the clutches for the moment of David Payton in the number 64. The number 64 D2D E-Racing Lamborghini, and Dean Dibdahl continues to sit right on the back of that pack. It looks though, Larry, that perhaps Alex Brown has, as he's had both Chris Thorman and Jack Harrison leapfrog him. Alex Brown now, you see there right in the middle of a very large pack, now sitting almost looks like, gosh, about 6 seconds back from Dibdahl, so just in the span of about 3 laps.
I didn't quite catch if that was some of the issues making his way through that TCR traffic as they had to do on that last lap, but he certainly lost a couple of positions and then lost that crucial time, because although he was letting the faster drivers perhaps from the pro category, he is losing time to his AM category rival, as you can see right there in the number 19 Dean Dibdahl. So Dibdahl to Brown now 5.5 seconds. Remember, it was down to a 3.5 just a lap or so ago. Yeah, that's really tough now for Brown. Of course, now he looks over his shoulders. He's got the overall points leader in the AM category, Steve Daniel, right on his 6th. So he's got to really be watching himself not to drop any more pace here, or he'll be dropping down the order.
Yeah, he's really put that Tartan car in a very precarious position here.
But for Dibdahl, doing a pretty good job of making his way through traffic. I thought for a second I was going to give him the commentator's jinx, but I saw the black Porsche going around us.
Segrini.
Even worse for Segrini, who had been running up there in the top 4. He's going to fall down the order a little bit now, as he was able to get going again, but not until it looks like he may be coming out right in front of Jack Harrison and a little bit behind David Payton. So tough little move that looked like it might have been at the hairpin.
I was going to say, it looked exactly like it was at the hairpin, Larry, and perhaps turned in a little bit early there. And I think we've got a replay here queued up. Let's take a look here on our split screen.
Well, another catches that grass on the entry, it looked like.
Yep.
That's all it takes. Send that back around. It's the same thing that Travis Schwenke had done. Different spot of the track, but same thing. And ironically, it's kind of what may have been mentioned in our pre-race chat about how difficult it is. The grass edges are around this track, as we were reading the YouTube chat before the race got going. So May have been a little bit of foreshadowing from Brennan Horan talking about it. May have jinxed a couple of the other drivers already tonight who have not been able to stay off the grass. And that's one of those spots right there coming around 130R where it can be a little dicey when you get out of that AstroTurf edge. But manages to hang on to it, does Ruddick.
Yeah, and we're on board right now as we're watching Eric Violet in the number 89 machine, the 89 D2D Racing Hyundai Elantra. He was following Scott Brooks around. This is the battle for second in TCR, and there you can see Violet now trying to get a draft off of one of the Lamborghinis, and he does manage to get around the 137, or probably the 49 of Brooks. Brooks having some challenges at the tail end of that lap. And some other challenges, Larry. Look at this, as Violet now coming right up to the back of our leader in TCR. That's Brad Husty.
Yeah, that just changed the scene very quickly, as there was some traffic mix-up going on there, as suddenly Violet finds himself, what was a moment ago a 5 or 6 second gap, now is about 3 car lengths or even less to the leader in TCR's Brad Husty. So game on. The race is in our hands now between Husty and Violet. And like I said, I think these two are the ones battling for the championship. So what better way than to have a battle on track?
Exactly, Larry, as we still have some of the GT3 traffic trying to find a way around that lead pack in TCR, and the intermixing of the classes has really mixed up Brad Husty's race here in the number 137 Husty Racing machine, as you can see now, trying to make its way through. And I think that's Dean. That is not Dean Debdahl. That's
Sterling.
That's John Sterling in the 87 machine, getting by our TCR drivers. But this has definitely changed the complexion here. As we mentioned, Eric Violet currently leading Brad Husty by 20 points in the championship.
Yeah, and getting a good result tonight would be big for him, as they're now going to be nose to tail, start to maybe pull away from this. And an hour-and-a-half race is a long, long time on a set of tires in a TCR car. So I'll really be curious when it comes to pit stop times. What do these guys decide to do? Do they go just with fronts? Do they change all 4? And look at Husty running wide around the big sweep. Manages to contain it, but I really don't like rolling the dice out there. It gets real slippery real wide.
Yeah, and here as they come into the Casio triangle and come out through the final corners here on track and back out onto the front straight, they're going to be completing I believe they're going to be completing their 8th lap, just starting their 9th lap now. You can see there where Husty's already having some challenges there with entries and, more importantly, exits through some of these corners. It just does not seem to be nearly as smooth as Violet. And look at that, as Violet just can roll up to the back of the 137 car almost at will area, and you can see as if he's having to let out of the throttle past the apex. You know, doesn't have necessarily enough to get by, but his exit speed considerably higher than the 137 car at the moment.
But we also know these cars, when they're running in close proximity, they tend to take on a lot more tire wear. So I'll be interested to see how long does Eric stay behind Brad in this little battle before he decides to just give a little bit of extra room. Unless he thinks he's got a shot to get by, then he can sort of set the pace and not have that extra tire wear on the front end. So keep your eye on that, on how this goes, because again, we're still early, 20 minutes, not even 18 minutes into a 90-minute race. These guys are pushing hard early on. We already know that Eric had to push hard to get to this point, just to close that gap up to Brad. Now let's see if he decides to save some tire for the long run.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea of the pace here, that last lap, Violet running a high 2:15. Almost 2.5 seconds faster than Scott Brooks behind, and you can see Brooks is starting to fall off the pace of both Brad Husty and Eric Violet here at the moment. For a while, it was looking like a 3-car battle for the lead.
Yeah, these guys, their pace, though, once they settle in, is pretty strong. Now, we'll see what happens as the ebbs and flows of multi-class racing and those GT3 cars start rolling through, how much that breaks these two up. I think that Eric was already able to use some of that to close this gap. We'll see if he can ensure that it doesn't break them up next time the pack comes by.
Look at this.
Hartley.
Robert Hartley in the Orion Racing Mercedes-AMG GT3. He puts his car off track, and that's coming right underneath the overpass. That's going into, yeah, Larry, that's going right into 130R, I think, isn't it?
No, that should have been at the Degner curves, the second of them. Yep.
Oh, that's right.
So unfortunately for him, that's just going to lose a lot of time. Not the fastest corner, but it certainly is one of the slipperiest.
Yeah, and so both of our Orion Racing drivers experiencing issues tonight. Of course, Travis Schwenke, our pole sitter, first driver to experience problems. He is slowly but surely working his way back up through the field as he's now 12th overall.
That was Jack Harrison. Big slide there coming out of Spoon Curve. Again, catching that bit of a turf or a bit of a thing, whatever that is on the other side of the curving that isn't very sticky. It hurts you there, and it can also hurt you here coming around 130R. But he manages to avoid contact from Chris Thorman. Thorman, I guess, should be the one who avoided the contact by driving around him. But good job by both of them not to have any coming together. But for Harrison, boy, he learned that lesson pretty quick. Don't hit those curves. Stay off the outside.
Do it again. Exactly.
I tell you what, all this movement, though, is Dibdall leading the M category now by over 10 seconds. You can see him here picking his way through traffic. He's pushing up behind Jennifer McDonald, who's currently sitting third overall in this race, putting Dibdall fourth overall in the race. He's really strong tonight. Yeah,
he now has 5 pro category drivers between he and Alex Brown, who's sitting second in AM. As we just saw that replay of Robert Hartley and his issues over at the Degner curves there, and he has gotten that car back underway, but he is now sitting 9th overall, and that is, of course, with Dean Dibdall up there in the top 4. Hartley currently running 8th in pro.
Well, it was Brennan Horn that said it in the chat before the race even started. The grassy edges around this place. A lot of them on a corner entry, but as we've seen already, in Harrison's case, corner exit will bite you as well. So you've really got to watch those. I suspect even Hartley now is saying, I knew better. I shouldn't have done it.
As we're watching right now, Robert Hartley in the number 3 machine trying to make up some ground, trying to make a recovery here right on the back of Jack Harrison in the number 27 Porsche. And they are both starting to come up on some of our TCR traffic. As you can see there, Tom Jenkins just ahead in the 68 machine. And a little bit further up the road as those two drivers now side by side coming down.
Yeah, Hartley got a really good run with the traffic hitting Harrison a little bit early. He was able to take advantage of that, kind of like a pick move, and make his way on by. And Harrison probably knowing that, hey, that's Rob Hartley. His pace is pretty darn strong. Go ahead and let him through a 90-minute race. He's going to get by eventually anyway.
Yeah, didn't necessarily want to go side by side through 130R with the guy, and gives up the position here as we jump back to this battle for the lead in TCR, and Eric Violet continues to sit back behind the 137 of Brad Husty. And you said earlier, Larry, that extended time behind sitting in traffic with these cars can lead to a little bit of aero wash off the front of the car, and maybe some extra wear on that front rubber, which of course is so critical to the handling of these machines, especially over the course of a long race.
Yeah, and it was interesting. It was interesting because it could be Eric's already planning and doing a front tire change, so he's not as concerned, but he may be thinking he could save some fuel by tucking in the draft. So you give up entire wear, planning on making the change anyway, for the benefit being saves the fuel, especially in this view. If he's not going to take a run and go by, he's just going to coast halfway down the straightaway, use the draft to pull him along. He's going to save quite a bit of fuel, so when it does come time to stop, his stop should be shorter.
Yeah, and so for the TCR cars, they're right now probably just about halfway, and maybe even a little bit less than halfway through what we think would be their first stint. Here, we think they can get somewhere around the lines of about 50 minutes on track, anywhere between lap 18 and lap 22 would be their pit window, and currently they're working lap 10. So long time to go here if he's just going to sit back and try to save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, it's a long time to do it, which means opportunity to really sip that fuel and passing around here. Because once he gets separation, if he's confident he can pick his way through traffic for Eric, maybe that's his strategy, is he can work his way through traffic faster. But when they're together, he needs to do it in the same pace as Brad. Now, Brad may be thinking the same thing, that once there's separation, he'll take his chances with traffic. Knowing that he was quick off the start of this race, maybe he's also conserving a little bit, knowing that this is going to come down to the end to save a little bit to the car. Because his pace isn't quite what it was the first couple laps, but we know that he had a pole sitting time and was able to do a pretty good start to this race. So we'll see if Brad's got something maybe in reserve.
Yeah, and as we can see now, Scott Brooks, he has definitely lost the draft. Certainly, he's now sitting almost 7 seconds, I believe, back from our 2 leaders in TCR. Yeah, you can see there about 7.2 seconds back in that black number 49 machine, and back sitting 4th just off the podium right now, Jeremy Goringer in number 18. But now let's jump in. Haven't talked much about Evan Peichel, who's now coming up onto that TCR lead battle. Peichel with 5 wins so far this season. He's won every single round. He started on the outside of the front row next to Orion Racing's Travis Schwenke, but Schwenke with that early off went and moved Peichel up into the lead. And once again, as we've seen, Larry, it doesn't seem to matter who's sitting as the tail gunner, who's sitting second. They're never really very close. Nick Resputo now almost 6.5 seconds back from our leader.
Yeah, with no Mike Dam tonight, like I said, he had been so strong as the strong second place in every single race. Maybe the gap was going to be a little bit bigger, but it just continues to grow. This is just an amazing performance by Peichel every single week. So consistent, forcing everyone to chase him. Resputo having a pretty good run here so far, with a good 6-7 second gap on Jennifer McDonald and Dean Dibdall behind him. So, not a bad start here for Resputo either, but Peichel is just on another level.
As we now see Resputo trying to make his way through our lead battle in TCR as he cuts underneath Brad Husty and then to the outside of Brad Husty. It's amazing what a couple hundred horsepower will do for you.
It helps. Can't hurt.
No, can't hurt at all, except maybe in the way.
In the best sounding engine in the entire sim. I do love me that Mercedes. Jordan Segrini now, right there behind David Payton, and as they've come up on John Casey, who's got a little bit of a wrinkle on the front of that Ferrari.
Yeah, Casey had that early impact with Brennan Horn on lap number 1. Definitely nursing some damage there. He's going to go a lap down to these 2 drivers, and so Payton currently running 5th overall, Segrini in 6th. Again, overall 4th and 5th in pro.
Payton struggling there with that hairpin after having made his way around the lap traffic of Casey. Didn't quite get the exit that he wanted. We'll see what happens here at Spoon to see if maybe Segrini can get a good run and make the pass down into 130R. But he's right on his tail, get that nice early on the gas. We might be seeing a pass here. That's a pretty good launch for Segrini.
Yeah, got a very good run as they come through 130R and they head up towards the Casio triangle, that last little chicane. There they are. Right,
tough series of corners here. These are so tough. I just a week or so ago ran my own leagues at this track, and the cars we were running end of the race side by side with somebody going through there, and it just never works out. It's so hard to go through that triangle, through that chicane, side by side with anybody, even the best. There's just not much room through there. So you better get it sorted out around 130R, because if it's ever leading into that point, it's probably got
that exactly. They're going to be your lead car coming out of the final corner or coming onto the front straight.
Either that or nobody comes out.
Very tight. Yeah, exactly. And then pray you're the 4th or 5th car in, because it's going to take that many to clear for the whole situation to clear out. Yeah.
Yes.
As we watch now, as the drivers are making their way through the S curves. Oh, And going around there is David Payton in the 64 machine. Now those S curves, Larry, this is, we talk about it, Circuit of the Americas. Oh wow, and look at the jumble of cars coming up right behind here. But we always talk about the Circuit of the Americas and how that track is basically a combination of many different circuits, best and sometimes worse track features, and the S's at Circuit of the Americas really modeled after the S curves here at Suzuka, turns 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, where you start off with these fairly open corners and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter each time you have to move back. And you saw there coming through turns 5 and 6 where the rear end of that Lamborghini just kind of got away from the D2D racing driver.
You get up to that Dunlop and it's an uphill entry and then it just flattens out. You really want to be on the gas all the way down to the Degner curves. So if you don't, you just lose so much time. And I think that's what that might have been what Peyton was trying to do. And unfortunately, just pushed himself wide, caught a little bit of the grass. He spun, but what a great job there. I think it was Segrini of avoiding him.
Yes.
We were on board with him there for a minute, but to be able to avoid what looked like this Lamborghini, completely normal to driving direction, nowhere to go. He went aggro, totally off, was able to hold the car and get back on the track, clean as a whistle. Unbelievable job there for him to save his race.
Yeah, as he had nothing to do but stare at that number board right on the door, because he was looking broadside at a very long wheel-based Lamborghini, and very, very good recovery. Speaking of Lamborghinis, as we're on board now with the 60 machine of Chris Thorman from D2D eRacing, and he has now Robert Hartley on that recovery drive sitting, and he's been, even through some of that TCR traffic just a few moments ago, Hartley just kind of stalking the number 60 machine here.
Well, and this is where it's tough to make your way through the pack, because although Hartley's probably a little bit quicker than Thorman, it's tough to make your way by. It's tough to find a passing point around here. So Hartley doing as good a job as you could hope for. His teammate and partner in crime, Swanky's trying to do the same a little bit further back, but some of these guys are tough to get by. Thorman's one of them. He's quick, and quick enough to hold a driver like Hartley behind him for quite a long time. Place is so busy. It requires so much attention.
Yeah.
It's almost it's awfully brutal for the Extreme League admins to put the 90-minute race at this track compared to some of the others where you really have time to breathe and think, and maybe have a bit of time to relax. This is not one of those tracks where you really have a chance to relax.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say, hey, let's compare and contrast this to Fuji, where same thing. You're just dealing with seemingly hairpins everywhere, but very much in many regards a similar track. Your hands are always moving, and so it opens up, I think, a little bit more here.
The mile-and-a-half long straightaway where you can kind of sit back and relax. But other than that, this kind of track where it's very busy. I mean, this place, I believe, was developed as a tire testing track. So it was intended to be difficult on tires and difficult on drivers, as well as the equal lefts and rights. And it really shows that personality in a long race like this, because the driver who can just keep it attached to the tarmac ends up being the one who can win, or at least podium in the race. You're not going to win the race putting this thing off into the grass. We've seen a few of our drivers do already.
Yeah, and so we're now only about a third of the way through this hour-and-a-half long race, this 90-minute race to the checkered flag for round number 6 of the Ricmotech World Challenge. And your leader is Evan Peichel. Just set the fastest lap of the race at a 157.45. He has now almost a 15-second advantage over the 132 Mercedes of Nick Rasputo. Jennifer McDonald sitting in third. In our AM category, Dean Dibdahl is your leader, and he's got, look at this, he's now got 6 pro category drivers sitting between he and Alex Brown. Brown almost 15 seconds off the lead right now with Steve Daniel, currently running third in AM. And then in TCR, Brad Husty continues to hold on in his Husty Racing Hyundai Elantra over Eric Violet from D2D eRacing, but Violet is seemingly, well, he's just mirroring almost everything that Husty does. He sits second, and then Scott Brooks in the number 49 machine, currently running third about 15 seconds back.
So Violet may have just showed his hand a little bit, because we had seen this before where he was trailing Husty and just sort of matching them, blow for blow as they were going around. The traffic coming through in the GT3 separated them actually a little bit. They were a couple seconds apart. Violet then went and burned off a 13.9 lap time relative to Husty's 14.4, which was Husty's best lap of the race the last time around for each of them. But suddenly a half a second quicker, there you can see it for Violet, able to pick that up so quickly that he was able to be right back on his tail. I think Violet showed that he's got pace if he wants to use it.
If he wants to use it, yeah.
The question is, does Husty have the same pace in reserve in case he needs it?
Yeah, and it's got to be a difficult position for Husty also. If he sees and can open up a gap back to Violet, does he take advantage of it, or does he continue to maybe, as being that lead car, have to do? Oh, and Husty running a little bit wide, coming into the Casio Triangle, into those very tight S's to end up to finish up a lap as they come out and complete lap number 14. Maybe
yeah, just watching
a little easier for the Violet.
If Eric's not going by, then he's got a strategy to just sit there and save fuel, because he had every opportunity to take the lead and didn't just take it.
Didn't do it, and he just locked in right behind the 137 machine. Did not even poke to the inside one little bit there.
Yeah, if this were the 75th minute instead of the 35th minute, that would be a different race going on right now. But right now it looks like Eric's going to take the conservative approach, play the long game, and let this race play out a little closer to 90 than to the start.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I was thinking, in the case of Husty, even as that gap had opened up between he and Violet on the last lap before he had that little bobble there, since he doesn't have the advantage that Violet has in being able to sit back in the draft and maybe do some additional fuel savings, was it maybe the one opportunity that Husty saw to maybe lay out of the throttle just a little bit and try to get a little bit back, even if it was only going to be for, I'm sure he was hoping for at least a lap or 2 laps and not half a lap.
Well, these two are going to have some more GT3s rolling by him here in a minute, as Russ Ruddock looks like about to make his way on through.
Yeah, I think that's Ruddock and the Ferrari of Cabrera right behind.
Those two Italians will go roaring on by up the hill, passing the TCR cars. Maybe we can get a little look in on the battle for second between Nick Ricmotech and Jennifer McDonald that has tightened up quite a bit. Ricmotech had a struggle lap a few laps ago, brought Jennifer right back up behind him. Now there's about a second between, but the pressure's on Ricmotech, having lost that bit of a gap there that he had built. Now there's a battle on for second. This is really, Jennifer's gone from maybe having a race all by herself. She's been pulling away from Dipdol for a while to now all of a sudden going, hey, look, there's someone to go play with again. Sometimes you try differently. When you see someone within a second or so, then you would if they're like, they're 8 seconds up, I'll just sort of lay up. But no, suddenly they're in front of you like, oh, I guess I could maybe push them, try some different things. But no, she's got company.
Yeah, exactly. And she had been trailing Segrini earlier on in the race. Segrini having put the car around, and she kind of inherited that position that she had been fighting so hard for very early on in this race. But when she did that, I think there was somewhere close to about 6 seconds at that point between her and Ricmotech. But as you can see now, we're down to about 1.5 seconds separating them. She is running at a very good pace. That last time by, almost 0.2 of a second faster than the Mercedes. And Larry, let's take a look. I'm getting word that that Brad Husty, as we take a look at 27 of Harrison going off, but I think Husty may have had an issue. We're showing him back in second place, and I think we've got that queued up now. Yeah,
it looks like he found a bit of the edge of the grass going into the Casio Triangle chicane there, and luckily no collision with cars, but look at the amount of time he lost in that battle. So that lead now gets handed to Eric Violet, who now can do what he wants. He's got an 8-second lead on his rival. So this is going to be now to see. I mentioned Violet seemed to have some time in the bag. Does Husty have some? Well, can he go out and clip off some 13s here.
Well, he's gonna have to knock off a lot of 13s, Larry, and that is
Dibdahl.
Dean Dibdahl having some issues, and he's got some more traffic coming up on him. We talked about that big advantage he had over the rest of the AM field, as he just now has looks like that was Travis Schwenke and Rick Segrini getting by.
It kind of looked like Dunlop Curve again, where we had seen the off earlier from I believe it was David Payton. So we've seen a couple of cars go off there, and that cost him a ton of time. Remember, we were just saying he was up there in 4th. He was just a couple seconds behind Jennifer McDonald. Now I would say he probably just lost somewhere around 20 seconds.
20 seconds, give or take. And Alex Brown, not that far back. If we take a look, there's some TCR traffic back behind Dean. But Alex Brown in that BMW is he's kind of, as he clears one of the TCR drivers, I think that might have been Jenkins that he got by, but you can see now Brooks on his way. He's now only about 3 seconds back from the Porsche and starting to close things down. And Steve Daniel, he's not that far off either. Daniel sitting 3rd in AM as things might be starting to close up here. And
I don't see any damage, I don't think,
no,
on the car there of Dibdahl.
doesn't look like it.
Well, it's just been ego damage and not car damage, but that certainly hurts himself. He does manage to hold on to the lead in the AM class, but we'll see if his pace is able to continue or if Brown and Steve Daniel can make their way up there with him.
And you know, Larry, you've heard of the commentator's curse. I think this might be the commenter's curse playing out for Dean Dibdahl, because right before he went off, Rich Dibdahl, Dean's dad, was in the YouTube comments saying, "Don't put the camera on Dean. Don't even talk about him. Keep your commentary curse to yourself." And the next thing you know,
the dad curse.
Yeah, it's the YouTube commenter curse, and it's all on Rich Dibdahl. All right.
Take that, Rich.
That's right.
Hey, look, I've got a son. He races. It's always Dad's fault. Trust me, Rich. I'm sure it's not the first time that he's going to get the wrath of Dean on him.
Yeah,
but
probably.
Dean's still in this, still in the lead in his AM class, and not all is lost. He's just got to build that back up.
Yeah, and since we just checked in, he's sticking right now with Jordan Segrini. He's added about 0.4 of a second to that margin back to Alex Brown. So he's got to rebuild from where he lost just a lap ago, but he's already starting that carrying a little bit better pace than the 43 car.
Meanwhile, what it does do is it takes our original pole sitter, Travis Schwenke, who had that off there on lap 2. He's now back up to 7th. He's 38 seconds off the lead, but only about 20 seconds off of the podium. And that's interesting, as we've still got 50 minutes left in this race. He could possibly make up 20 seconds and reach podium, especially the way to go, but not doing moves like that. That breaks himself a little bit deep into that chicane of the Casio triangle. Now he's going to drop back again there behind Segrini, but Schwenke, maybe it is the commentator's curse, just because we're talking about him. Suddenly goes and misses a breaking point.
It's the Larry curse. As Schwenke coming down into turn 1. Is he going to try and sneak underneath the 8 machine? No, a much tighter line there though, but just cannot quite get up to the 8. And we saw Dibdahl have to take avoiding action there in the Casio triangle as well. So some of the margin that he had built up to Alex Brown was taken away. The margin now down to just about 3 seconds between he and the BMW.
We'll see if Travis can get this done here as they come out of the hairpin and try and set up again to get by Segrini. But Segrini is just fascinating here, because all 3 of these guys right now, with Segrini, Schwenke, and Dibdahl, have all had their taste of this wonderful Suzuka grassy edges of the track.
Yes.
And here they are, running nose to tail at this point, almost the halfway point of the race. Now, if Schwenke can't get by, this may not be a terrible time to come in for the pits. We are in the pit window for everybody.
We just entered that pit window for the GT3 cars. We imagine somewhere between lap 21 and 25, about 48 minutes or so that they could run on a full tank, so pretty darn close. So Larry, why don't we do this as I had hoped to actually take a break before we hit that pit window. Let's quickly now take a quick break. When we come back here from Suzuka, hopefully we'll be right in the meat of the pit stops. You are watching round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by Texas Elite Graphics, live from Suzuka, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts, support from experts that love sim racing, trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
All right, and we are back here at Suzuka for round number 6 of 7 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by Texas Elite Graphics. And Larry, just like that, I'm going to snap my fingers. There we go. All of our drivers coming into the pits. We've got Schwenke in, we've got Zagrini in, we've got Peyton in, Alex Brown pits in. Wow. In AM, Steve Daniels in. We missed Dean Dibdahl. Dibdahl had gone into the pits just as we had gone to take a break, but everybody seeming to roll in except for Evan Peichel, who just ran his fastest lap of the race at a 156.81. But with some of these drivers coming in, that moves Jennifer McDonald now up into second, albeit a distant second. She's running 20 seconds back from Peichel currently. Chris Thorman now running second. Nick Rasputo, who is now out, sitting in fourth. Robert Hartley on a bit of a recovery drive, of course, himself, now sitting in fifth. Before heading into the pits, Hartley was somewhere around 14 seconds back from Jennifer McDonald and running a half a second to a second faster every single lap. But look at this in the battle for the
Dibdahl and all this is these guys are all coming out of the pits. They all went in together like mass congestion, like the the city of Nagoya traffic at this point. But Dibdahl, having pit a lap early, may have done himself some good. So he is, though, looks like still behind Schwenke and Zagrini.
Yeah.
Which I think he was hoping to leapfrog those guys, but turns out he's right back where he started from.
That's right. And our overall leader, Evan Peichel, he comes down the pit lane a little bit earlier than I expected. He ran very well into very deep, a much longer first stint than almost every other driver at Hockenheim, but he's in. Jennifer McDonald pitting in from second. You can see that BMW coming down the pit lane as well. Both of those drivers with pretty good gaps back to the rest of the field. Here heading out now, Russ Ruddick in the number 95 machine. And it looks like Chris Thorman there in the D2D iRacing Lamborghini coming down the pit lane as well.
The least surprising thing of this entire exchange is the only car left on track that has not stopped, Eric Violette, who is sitting in the draft saving fuel behind Brad Husty. And there goes Eric now to wrap the books up there on all of everyone's pit stops here tonight.
There you go. So last driver in and coming in from the lead in TCR, Eric Violette. We'll see how he handles this, and we'll see if the if that car takes front tires. Brad Husty, there we just saw there Husty for a moment in the 137 machine. When he comes around, he may take over the lead, but not likely. We think Violet will probably be able to come back out in the lead here.
I suspect that Violet will probably hold the lead. We'll see how well his pit stop goes, as he's probably about 4 seconds away from dropping to the ground. And there's Husty right now in the Husty Racing entry coming into the chicane. So unless he can burn out of there and down the front straight in about 5 seconds, he's going to still be in second at the end of this pit exchange. But he should be able to see Eric. And that's
he's a pretty good distance back, but he's going to come out. Violet's going to come out on course right ahead of that battle for second in GT3M, right ahead of Alex Brown and Steve Daniel. And Violet, as he's trying to get those tires back up to temp, he's going to let those two GT3 cars by, but that's going to hold them up maybe just a little bit, as Dean Dibdahl, now our leader in AM, comes out on track. He's 9th overall, and he was able to extend that margin back to Brown just a little bit, but you know, almost a 15-second advantage now does Dean Dibdahl have on the rest of the field.
Yeah, did a good job there of at least holding his position, but being very efficient in the pits, as efficient as the cars in front of him. And Schwenke, obviously being one of the Orion guys, they always have pretty efficient stops. So he's able to hold for him there while Brown and Daniel behind him struggle. And Daniel is pushing Alex Brown for a spot. So if we go to that battle, we'll see those two are just nose to tail. There they are. Look at that Ferrari right at the back of that BMW. We'll see if Steve Daniel's got anything. He's typically a conservative driver. He doesn't normally push the thing here, but he knows that this is not only for position, but look at Brown catching the grass and entry like a drifter all the way into this spoon curve. And now they're going to have a drag race up to 130R. That'll reset things a little bit as the Daniel does make his way on by.
There you go. So move Daniel now up to second in AM. And again, Daniel, currently our points leader in the AM championship, has a 13-point advantage coming into the evening over Dibdahl, and a 14-point advantage over the BMW driver, Alex Brown.
That helped all points leader there in AM and Steve Daniel to try and work his way up to the second spot. We'll see if Brown's got any sort of response for him, because he was doing pretty good there, holding that second spot for the majority of this race. So we'll see if he can keep up with him now with about 40 minutes left in this, and see if either one of them has anything for Dibdahl, who seems to again have a stranglehold on the M category tonight.
Yeah, you know, we'll have to see here. You know, we look back and see what Dibdahl did at Indianapolis back for round number 4, where he did have some tire issues, seemed to change his driving style quite a bit. And just as I say that, does he get to the wall? Ooh.
Lightly. Goes back out on track.
There he goes. He was going through the Degner curves there, and don't know if he impacted the wall. It was a bad camera angle.
Got a little bit, I think, and yes, you can see a little bit on that left rear wing end plate, a little bit along the left fender. Yeah, there on the left side. Looks like he's got a little bit of a wrinkle, so hopefully for him, his alignment's not off, because that will kill your race if it is.
Yeah, that'll certainly hurt tire wear, and of course straight lines. Well, it'll hurt everything. And we'll see here as now Steve Daniel is about 10 seconds, actually about 10 and a half seconds back from Dibdahl, with one pro category driver between the two, that being Jack Harrison in the number 27 machine.
And Dean managed to recover pretty quickly as you can hope in that, considering where he went off. That's a tough corner. Those walls come up very quickly, but he was able to kind of sideswipe the wall, minimize the damage, and then keep rolling again. So if the car isn't damaged, maybe he can hang on to this 10-second lead, if it's really 10 seconds, because you see this Daniel now coming into the chicane here, and he's going to try and see where he's at relative to the leader in class, Dibdahl. Just a straightaway separating them.
Yeah, just about the length of the front straight, and the front straight not being all that long here, but again the gap now just about 10 and a half seconds that last time by. Obviously, big pickup for Steve Daniel, almost 6 seconds. And just as I was saying, Larry, you know, well, maybe it is the commentator's curse. Just as I was saying that, you know, that Dean had some tire management issues at Indy. He changed his driving style quite a bit at Hockenheim 2 weeks ago, and it did not seem to be a problem for him. And just as I was saying that,
it's this track. It is totally this track. You know, I think as it was mentioned by Brennan Horn in the chat before the race started, it's probably the third time I'll mention it. This place has just got that grass edge right up to where you want it. It's a fairly narrow track, and you want to use every inch of that asphalt. But the problem is that grass is just tempting but slippery. Whether it's corner entry, you go a little wide at corner exit, like here. This is where we had seen one of the cars go wide on that exit right there. It's a nice apron to use, but if you get too wide by getting on the gas early or not getting quite to the apex you wanted, you will send a car around. That's one of about 7 spots around here that'll get you in an hour and a half race. You know,
and you can see right there as David Payton drops the right side wheels into the dirt, coming
trying to
through.
Put that Lamborghini back to its heritage and turn it into a tractor. Going down toward 130R and turn up the soil heading in there. You better watch it, or he will find himself plowing the fields.
Indeed, and he's got Rick Sagrini firmly in the draft, and look at that right behind Travis Schwenke as well, as Schwenke was still trying to find a way around the number 8 machine.
Sagrini's been picking up the pace. He had a pretty good start, we know, as he was running up into the top 3 there for quite a while. Had the spin, sent him back. So he knows he's not really holding anybody up. But look at that. He's actually pulling away a little bit from Schwenke. Other than the ebbs and flows there, you can see of lap traffic and things as we had just seen him working his way through. But Sagrini certainly has good pace, running 58s pretty consistently. If he can pull off a couple of 57s, then maybe he could really put some daylight between he and Schwenke. But right now, this position you see here, Sagrini on Payton, that is for position. That is for 6th overall in this race, with Chris Thorman another 5 seconds up the road in the other of our D2D racing entries. The Sagrini wants to get by one and start chasing down the other if he can.
All right, as we jump back over and take a look now at this this battle in AM, and we're looking at Nathan Thomas. I told you it would take me till like minute 75 to get that right, and we're only
fine. You got 19 more minutes.
Yeah, I got a little bit of time still. We're only at minute 56, and getting hounded right now, not by Jose Cabrera, but that is who is.
It's Thomas chasing Brown.
Brown, yeah.
Yeah, this is a battle for 3rd here in the M category. Brown looking very kind of slow off the pace right now. I don't know if he had some impact, but he's got some serious pace troubles right now as Nathan Thomas just kind of blows right on by him at the entry of
as if it was nothing.
A very unusual passing point, and I'm really wondering what may be happening, either if it's not to the car, wondering if perhaps Brown's rig is having issues, but there may be a bit of a wrinkle in that car as well. So he might have all kinds of problem right now driving that BMW.
Yeah, we saw, you know, again early on in the race, and even there through the triangle, you could see the rear end kind of walking around on him just a little bit. I'm wondering if early on in some of the battles that he had with Steve Daniel here in the first half of the race might have run the tires off just a little bit, Larry.
It's a bit crazy. He's now 4 seconds back from Steve Daniel, and he was at least 4 or 5 seconds ahead of him at one point. So there's definitely something going on there inside the helmet or the sim rig there of Alex Brown. Now watching as they go through these S's, he's watching Nathan Thomas kind of pull away from a little bit, and Nathan's got to slow down a little bit and work his way around that number 49 of Scott Brooks in front of him as they go around the Dunlop curve. Not the easiest place to pass. We've seen cars go off. As we see it, that's Steve Daniel in 2nd place, and he's going to come out right front and cause a pile-up.
Oh my gosh, and Steve Daniel comes right across the front of Nathan Thomas's Lamborghini, and definite contact there as Steve Daniel goes around and then into the wall. Thomas gets around, but it's going to be a question of whether or not there was any real damage there. Thomas still doesn't look to be any damage, Larry, or any major damage, but we'll know in a few moments. And then Alex Brown had to take evasive action there as well.
And Scott Brooks also in the poor innocent TCR car, just trying to let the GT3s through.
Yeah.
Suddenly he's got to go full binders to avoid a spinning brown Ferrari, code full brown in front of him. But he managed to somehow, I think, avoid the contact. Sorry, and so he had to avoid the contact to keep his race alive. But boy, I tell you what, that almost really shook things up in Am.
All right, let's take a look, Larry. I think we've got. I think we now have exactly what happened here as we're on board right now. Oh, jeez, just the lightest little bit of contact there. You know, maybe that's the advantage of those Lamborghinis having such a little frontal area and such a low nose there that it looked like he just drove right underneath the Ferrari and kept going.
Him out of the way.
Yeah, okay, like a cow catcher on the front of a train or something.
All right, well, now we've got Segrini right on the back of Peyton as they are making their way through this section. It's just around the Dunlop, kind of the same area we were just watching a moment ago. All three of these now with Peyton, Segrini, and Schwenke.
Yeah, and this is the battle for sixth. All of these four position, sixth overall, sixth in pro.
Again, it looks like the 64 of Peyton struggled a little bit with the hairpin. Not quite as efficient as we've seen some of the other drivers. Runs that wide line, and behind
tries
them,
to square the exit off.
Struggling as well.
Yeah, tries to square the exit off. Maybe falls out of the groove there a little bit, and kind of counterintuitive. Just can't get the power down.
We'll see if Segrini now can get a move on down the back straight. See if he can get on the gas early. Use some bit of draft behind that Lamborghini. Not yet. Looks like he's going to probably go to 130R, still trailing.
Well, let's see if Peyton drops wheels there again. Nope, doesn't do it. Doesn't do it this time.
Maybe he's listening.
Yeah, not likely.
Maybe he should be. So as our leader in the TCR class, Eric Violette, letting some traffic on through as Jennifer McDonald goes on through. But take a look as there we go.
Husty.
John's on camera. Perfect here as Husty's now taking what was a 7 or 8 second lead down to just a second and a half with 30 minutes to go. I don't know if Violet is just, you can see, look at the pace difference there. Violet's been going conservative. Look at those 216s.
216s. Yeah, wow. Almost a second and a half off of Husty's pace on that last lap.
I'm wondering, here's my theorizing going here. Did he put enough fuel in the car? His fuel stop was 3 seconds slower or faster than Husty's, and I'm starting to wonder if he's in full fuel save mode right now. And if he's listening to us, he's going to be upset and kicking himself because that might be what's going on.
It could very well be. Now, remember, Violet was the very last driver on track to come in for a pit stop, but he only was, I believe, in 2 laps after Brad Husty. Now, we had a good portion of that first stint was right tucked underneath the back of Brad Husty's Elantra, and so he likely had the ability to save quite a bit of fuel. But yeah, I mean, 3 seconds worth of fuel delivery. I don't know if
this may be a strange strategy here, but you're 28 minutes at the end of this race. If you think you're going to fall a couple laps short, your best strategy is either going to run out of gas on your own, or go ahead and let Husky go by and go right back to fuel save mode in the draft, and maybe make a move at the end of this race. That might be exactly what he's thinking about right now.
It's like the TCR version of rope-a-dope. I mean,
it kind of is.
Yeah. Go for it, Muhammad. All right.
Not to say that Brad Husty's a dope, but you know.
No. And coming into the pit lane now, Tom Jenkins,
who had already made his stop earlier in this race. So I'm wondering if he just had a penalty, perhaps, for off tracks, or didn't put enough fuel in.
Yeah, I'm only showing is a 9X, which is quite a bit lower than some of our other drivers tonight.
Yeah,
but I mean, he might have been involved in an incident. I didn't see whether or not. Well,
we'll see if maybe it could be a fuel system issue as well, and some of these guys miscalculating, realizing late that it's a 90, not a 75-minute race, and realizing, oh, wait a second, we need to put a little bit more fuel in the car. He's
all right,
a pretty quick stop, I will say, just on Jenkins. just under 20 seconds. Previous stops were about 27, 28. So it could
Alright.
be a splash and go.
Yeah, quite possibly here as we now see getting around Brad Husty, Travis Schwenke now. So put it down at 1 minute into this race, or a minute 2 into this race. The number 16 machine, our pole sitter this evening, finally manages to get around Jordan Segrini. So move Segrini now back into 7th, move Schwenke up to 6th. Those drivers still almost 7 seconds in arrears of Chris Thorman. The number 60 machine.
Yeah, good move there for Schwenke if he wants to try and have a shot at the season podium here. He's going to have to probably get some points up here because he knows that Jennifer McDonald's already up there. And so there's some points getting going on. And, having lost that early lead in this race really did hurt him. It looks like in the background there's Segrini having a little bit of connectivity issues, a little blinking going on. That always makes me nervous in a 90-minute race. Put all this time in.
Well, he's been doing that since early on, Larry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and we see both of those drivers dropping wheels into 130R. Wow. We'll watch here as they come onto the front straight as Eric Violet continues to make it easy for the GT3 drivers to get by. But look at this, Brad Husty now 1.1 seconds faster than Violet on that last lap.
Eric Violet has not been in the 214 since his pit stop. And I think this may be what's going on, is he's going to go ahead and let Husty go by. Now, if Husty were smart, he could almost just sit behind
back
him.
there.
If he thinks that's what's going on, force the lead goose in the pack to burn all of his fuel. And but at this point, he might just be thinking perhaps there's an issue with Eric, and his best move might be to just try and pull away and force Violet to maintain pace.
Well, I'm looking to see how much of a gap they have back to Goringer at this point, over half a minute. So,
Yeah, at this point, it's the two of them to decide it for sure.
Yeah. I was just wondering if Husty didn't go for the pass and it was just going to be on the 89 machine to continue to back things up, how long he could do it for before Geringer got into the battle. And as they end up doing like 3-minute-5 laps around Suzuka. Oh, and Husty goes wide.
It'll make it easier a little bit on Eric, or maybe not, but Husty going wide. Ed Zegner is not going to help him, but he does manage to get back on without any damage. I think he may have been trying to let the Porsche on through, and I think it was that Dibdall that was making the way through. Yeah. Couldn't tell if it was Dibdall or Jack Harrison, who was also in the vicinity, driving a very similar looking black Porsche. For Husty, now he's back to that 2.5 seconds. See how quickly he gains back up to Eric, and what this is really turning into an interesting little battle where Eric looked like he was in complete control up until the pit stop, and suddenly that control is gone, and he's just a victim. As that in the pits.
Well, that was Steve Daniel that they just showed in the pits, but it also looks like, I think, both Schwenke and Segrini, let's see, Schwenke and Segrini just got around David Payton in the 64 machine.
Yeah.
Which now moves Schwenke up into 5th. And there was a big gap. I'm wondering if
I think
Payton
that's
had
Thorman.
some issues.
Yes, Thorman just had an issue. You can see him listed there as out. So something's going on with him. He was the other D2D car in the pit. So tough night for them. I think we've got a replay queued up for this one. So here we are on board, I believe, with Thorman. Just runs wide. Oh, it is going to be a violent ending. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he just missed time the entry and got the car going, and it just was along for the ride. And unfortunately, that ride ended in tears into the wall, and the end of the night there for Thorman. And there's another car sliding there in front of this shot, right in front of Cabrera. Crazy night.
And seeing that we haven't, we have some folks in the YouTube comments that thinks we should be checking in with the whole field. So I think we should at some point tonight check back with Evan Peichel, who now has over a 30-second advantage over Nick Resputo here. And, again, almost, up by almost a quarter, about a third of a lap on our second place driver. And
He's, again, making it look easy.
Easy.
Look at that every single lap like clockwork, just one after another, laying him down. He did have one of the fastest, if not the fastest, pit stops of the entire field. It's just so precise out there.
Yeah, and
the only mistake he's making, actually, he's got a lot of off tracks, so he's dancing with that double tonight.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of drivers that are in that position. You know, certainly Segrini as well, Dibdall as well, Nathan Thomas, Brad Husty for that matter in the TCR field also. But you know, and we talked about this at Hockenheim last week, Larry, where even though Peichel doesn't have, you know, he's spending a lot of time behind the wheel without any traffic around him, without the benefit of the draft off of a car ahead. You know, certainly when he comes up on some slower traffic, he can get a, you know, at least a little bit of a pull from those cars ahead. But for the most part, he's been able to run these races and do the fuel management, to do fuel savings, to be able to run longer stints than almost every other driver, almost every single week, and you know, and is able to do that and still maintain, you know, in the case of when he's up against Mike Dam, a 10-second advantage. In the case here against Reciputo, a half-a-minute advantage. Just, you know, it's really amazing to watch how he does manage a race and still seems to be, you know, checking off all the boxes.
Yeah, he's not really holding up by any means. He's just putting his head down and turning laps, basically turning qualifying laps as the race goes on. No one's even in his second range. It's pretty impressive. Watch him keep a strong, powerful stranglehold on this race, no matter whether it's a short race or a long race. Doesn't matter the track. He's 5 wins already this season and doing quite well here tonight, to leave it at that. But even watching his way pick through traffic, it's just conservative enough without wasting much time.
And let's see who he's coming up on right now. Coming up on John Casey, as well as, I'm trying to see who that is ahead of John Casey, who has gotten that car back out on track after his early issues. No, didn't see who that was.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of our TCR cars there. That's Eric Violette, class leader. Casey lets him on by, but yeah, look there, we got the leaders of TCR and the leader in the overall in the race, all kind of in the same shot, as Husty right now again back up on the back of Eric Violette, who is just again continue to run those 216s in what appears to be a fuel save mode. So we'll see if he lets Husty by, or if Husty just says, no, we'll let you do this on your own. At some point, Husty's got to force the issue anyway. He's got to force him to burn fuel. Otherwise, as you mentioned, he's got 30 seconds to go ringer behind him. Though plenty of a buffer that Eric could continue to slow down if he needs to. But this is getting to be fascinating, whether Eric put in enough fuel for a 90-minute race or not.
Yeah, we've got just a little bit less than 20 minutes remaining. I guess we're going to find out. Well, I was going to say we'll find out soon enough. I guess we'll find out in about 19 minutes.
The other battle that we had seen going into the pit exchanges we were kind of watching was the Rob Hartley in 4th, Jennifer McDonald in 3rd. We thought, well, maybe Hartley was only a couple seconds back. Hartley is not right now. He's about 8 seconds back from Jennifer. Jennifer's been laying down some great lap times. As you can see her there, working her way through that traffic. Doing a good job, even as you can see the last couple laps, extending that lead now over Hartley. So good job for Jennifer, really trying to come up with a podium here and put herself maybe in a position to be in a podium for the season come the next race on down. But still, good almost 18 minutes to go in this race. So it's not done yet, but she's done a pretty good job here in this middle section of the race, being conservative and doing what she needs to do to have a strong finish. Where everyone behind her, Hartley, Schwenke, Segrini, have all had offs. Jennifer seems to be the one to say, maybe not me tonight.
Yeah, exactly. She's run a very quiet, consistent race, and going into the pit stops, Hartley there was about a 14-second gap from McDonald back to Hartley. So Hartley's been able to chop some of that off, and a lot of that, Larry, was done right before he brought the car into the pits. He had some outright flyers there at the end of his very first stint, but McDonald's has run a very consistent race, and hasn't had many challenges with the slower TCR traffic. So 20 minutes to hang on as we jump back right now in the battle here of the black Porsches. We've got Jack Harrison, who's running 8th overall, 8th in pro, and then Dean Dibdahl, our AM category leader, running 9th overall. And nice little fight here between these two drivers starting to form up.
It is, and I'm wondering here if Dean's going to really do much about this, knowing that he's got 8 seconds in the bag with 17 minutes left in this race. Doesn't really need to push. This is not a class battle. This is a pro class there for Harrison to the M class for Dibdahl. So Dibdahl doesn't need to, unless he feels like he's being held up, and I don't think so. I think Harrison's probably laying down some pretty good lap times right now and not really holding up Dean. So you might see these two just sort of playing the Black Porsche shadow game here. Just gonna stay in this order for the next 15 minutes or so, unless we start to see some more traffic.
Well, Larry, let's talk again about yeah. Well, maybe we should. Let's take a look at this replay, and there you go in the center screen. Who is it? It's Jennifer McDonald.
And he finds that edge of the track that we've been talking about all night. Doesn't impact the wall, but she does manage to keep it going again.
But now that gap, Larry, back to Robert Hartley, it is now down to less than a second.
Well, it's that track. I'm going to blame the track, not the commentator's curse. I'm going to blame the track for eventually. It's not a matter of if, but when the track will bite. In this case, for Jennifer, she made it about 37 laps before the track came up and bit her.
Yeah, exactly.
But the good news for her is she didn't make any contact. She was able to keep on going, and she's had really good pace in the second half of this race. So, for her, she just puts her head back down, keeps on going again. I don't know that she's got to really worry so much about Hartley behind her.
Yeah, now she does have to worry about John Sterling, driver of the 87 AM Porsche, just ahead, and knowing how difficult it is to make passes here. We'll see if Sterling lets her by. He does. He lets Schwenke by, or probably lets Hartley by as well.
Well, she would have needed that pass from Sterling, because Sterling actually would have had the black flag at that point. So,
yeah,
we're not, if he doesn't let on by after seeing the blue flag. So, good job for Sterling to do it in a good, safe spot. Now we'll see if these two, in a battle for the last step of the podium, actually can turn this into a little bit of a fight, or if Jennifer can head back down and start walking. Which gets it down to Peichel being the only driver, I think, in the field that hasn't had an off yet tonight with a spin or any kind of significant time loss. Not that I think we've said first down. I'm just saying, I don't want to wish any ill harm on anybody.
Got a 23X, Larry.
I'm just in awe that he's managed to avoid it for this long, as we're now past the 75-minute mark, and Evan Peichel with a 33.5-second lead on Nick Ricmotech, holding down solidly the second spot in this race, as he's been for the last 55, 60 minutes.
Yeah. So Larry, and I'll just bring this up here. And again, when I say that he's got 23 incident points, that is not necessarily what he has. That's what we've got in our timing software, but it definitely is not official there. In the World Challenge, if you hit 21 incident points, you do get a penalty point assigned, or you'll have 1 point in the championship removed. And if you get 26 incident points, drive-through penalty. So long time to go, but I think there's as we heard in Formula One in this season, you get your 3 strikes and you're out. He's possibly very close to that limit as we continue to watch this battle with Jennifer McDonald and Robert Hartley. This is the battle for third here tonight.
At least for Evan, if he comes into this race with 5 wins in 5 rounds, a couple of bonus points lost isn't really going to hurt him. For him, the good news is the sim session itself has no penalty set up for an incident count limit. Now, a lot of race series, they do.
Yes.
And I think we even may have it in our other series, but where they will in fact have a drive-through penalty for more than, for example, 20, 25, whatever the number is.
I've had some drivers get knocked off the podium in the last couple of weeks on the very last lap for just such a reason. Yeah.
Yep. But here tonight, there is no penalties for that. The only penalties are, as you described, points that are calculated afterward. And for Evan Peichel, points are not an issue. Because I think coming in with 5 wins, I'm not sure there's much anybody could do at all.
No, and you know, and again, given that number 2 in the championship right now, Mike Dam, isn't here racing this evening, so it does all fall on Travis Schwenke, who is currently sitting 3rd in the championship, 16 points out of, or probably 34 points out of the championship lead, and currently 4th on track.
Yeah, but the driver that's 4th in the championship is currently 3rd on track, and we've got the camera right there on her. That's Jennifer McDonald. So she's happy to see, again, not wishing ill harm on anybody, but she's certainly happy to see that Schwenke's a couple spots behind her. And in fact, Schwenke's teammate maybe is a little bit of a buffer to keep Schwenke from getting 4th place points. Yeah. So this is really good for her right now. And for Rob Hartley, he could really play spoiler in this and trying to get around Jennifer and maybe try and help his teammate a little bit. Interesting that Dibdall's lead now down to 3.5 seconds. It was about 8 seconds when he and Harrison were running nose to tail.
Yeah, and I've seen Dean's incident count rising of late as well, Larry, as he's now up to 21 incident
at those
points.
Lap times there, you can see losing tenths, if not seconds per lap. Some of that's off. Also wondering if perhaps Dean may have short-filled the car. His pit stop time was a 32.6. Again, I think he was like the 2nd shortest pit stop of anybody in the field. Michael's being the shortest. Dean may be doing what we believe Eric Violet's doing, and that is fuel saving.
Fuel saving to get to the end.
We'll keep our eye on him to see how long does that lead hold up. It's down to under 2 seconds. Nathan Thomas is on the prowl. A bit of a reference to Dean's profile picture on the prowl. The cat.
We've got real cats, we've got cartoon cats. Oh, and Larry, I'm looking at our timing and scoring screen. I think we have a big update here in the battle for the podium. Robert Hartley getting around Jennifer McDonald. And not only did he get around Jennifer McDonald, I don't see...
She's supposed to be there 4 seconds back or so. She's not close at this point, so we'll have to wait and see. Perhaps the guys will queue us up a replay here in a minute. But she now is in that spot, still 11 seconds ahead of Schwenke, but certainly not where she wants to be.
No. All right, let's take a look, Larry. I think we've got it queued up. Let's see what happened as Robert Hartley took over 3rd position from Jennifer McDonald, as we're on board right now with the BMW driver. And once again...
That looks like the one that we had seen at the opening, Brennan Horn, putting the tire off there, a track edge going into the first corners. Unfortunately for Jennifer, now twice in about 5 laps, she's found that grass edge in a couple of spots, costing her this time a position. 10 minutes to go. Not saying she can't still get a podium, but she's got to work headed up there in front of her.
And Larry, here is, we were just talking about it a moment ago, in GT3 AM, we have a new leader, and it's Nathan Thomas in the number 10 Driftline Racing Machine. He's gotten around Dean Dibdall here with less than 10 minutes, only about 8 minutes remaining here from Suzuka.
Yeah, and I suspect watching Dibdall fade here a little bit, either his tires are gone, but the car doesn't look twitchy. I do suspect more of a fueling issue there. So we're going to keep our eyes on Dibdall to see if he can hang on and perhaps hold Alex Brown behind it, because Brown's still about 5 seconds back or so. Yeah. But Brown could also make this up quickly if there's a fuel issue on Dibdall.
And Larry, on the last lap, Alex Brown, I believe, made up about 3 seconds on Dean Dibdall. It may not be, well, let's see, there you go, 2.5 seconds, but 2.6 seconds, 2.4 seconds the last few laps. So it looks like Dibdall's just trying to nurse that car home.
The elder Dibdall may be blaming the tire killer for this, but I'm not so sure this problem is tires. I think this might be crew chief's fault for not putting in enough fuel, but that's just me adding fuel to the fire, no pun intended. As Dean makes his way up inside the 25 of Marlon Jones. We hadn't seen Marlon yet tonight. There he is on camera, letting Dean go on by. But now Nathan Thomas, we talked to him before the race, was really glad he was able to get some practice in, but maybe not all that he wanted, but a bit of a different strategy for him in trying to prepare himself here in this race than maybe he had done the last few races. Remember, he kind of alluded to it. I'll bring this up. He did win the AM category at the opening round at Road Atlanta. So he does come in with one win in AM. He would love to pick up a second one. And tonight he's just kind of been the consistent one. Fought his way back in this race after the pit stops around Alex Brown, and now taking advantage of a limping Dibdall to take over the lead. And right now he's got about 5 seconds on the field here in AM category.
Yeah, he's opening up. And just ahead of him, Larry, this is an interesting thing to watch. Just ahead of Nathan Thomas is that battle for the lead in TCR. And Eric Violet has now opened things up about over 2.5 seconds back to Brad Husty as we watch Nathan Thomas coming up on the back of the 137 Husty racing machine. Violet a little bit further up the track there.
Well, Violet just turned it on the afterburners and turned it at 13.6, his quickest lap of the race. So perhaps he finally said, okay, I got enough fuel. I got
enough to get to the end. Exactly.
Perhaps. But a Husty, you know, we know that he's shown some speed at times as well. So this is not over yet. And with the way the traffic is working here, there you've got the 10 of Thomas now making his way around the leader, Violet, as they go down the back straight. But for Violet, maybe he's realized at least that lap was an opportunity to open up the gap. He did that, but can he hold it, or does Husty still have one more surge left in him with about 5.5 minutes to go?
And Larry, I'm looking up. I'm looking at the timing pylon, and I'm not seeing Dean Dibdall there, but I think that's I think there. Yeah, there he is. And he's coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is gonna be a splash and go for young Dean. Again, probably went. Oh wait, it's a 90-minute race, not a 75. He may not be the only one doing that. So unfortunately for him, it's going to cost him a lot of points. He's going to fade down the order here pretty quickly.
It is. And Larry, just got word that one of our drivers, Jose Cabrera, who has exceeded the incident limit that I spoke of before, he's going to have a drive-through penalty in his Ferrari.
Well, that's interesting because I think Peichel has more incidents.
Well, I'm showing Cabrera as having 28 and 24 now for Peichel.
Okay, because my screen says 27 for Peichel.
Okay, well, maybe.
It said 25 for Cabrera, so let's just say this. Peichel's in range. Let's just say that as there he is. Probably trying to at least be cautious here late in the race.
And the 25 machine now, and that's Marlon Jones being assigned a drive-through penalty as well.
As we finally got Jones on the camera a moment ago for letting a car on through. Now he's going to probably get it for, unfortunately, being assigned a drive-through penalty. As that right there is that 18 of Cabrera, who's had a pretty busy night.
Yes.
First wreck of the night. Has managed to have pretty good battles here up and down. And unfortunately, that wreck may have been enough incident points plus all the offs to push the drive-through.
There you go. And so he now completes his penalty and is back on track now with only 3 minutes left to go here at Suzuka. As our leaders, Evan Peichel in pro, Nick Resputo currently running in second. The gap 35 seconds. Robert Hartley now sitting in third, and then Jennifer McDonald just off the podium in fourth. Travis Schwenke fifth. In AM, it's Nathan Thomas, your leader, with Alex Brown currently running in second, about 13 seconds in arrears. Dean Dibdall now, as we saw him come down the pit lane, and it looked like he was taking on some fuel, maybe taking on some tires as well. He has rejoined the action in third, with John Sterling just off the podium in fourth. And in TCR, it's Eric Violet and Brad Husty now. Look at this, Larry. You know, maybe
Violet's last lap, a 2:17.0. Husty a 16.8. Violet again maybe still manage that fuel. So here's my calculation, seeing where our overall race leader is. Peichel, there's 2 laps left in this race.
Yeah.
So does Eric Violet have fuel on board for this plus another lap? Or was he trying to time it where this was supposed to be his last lap? Because I know where the leader is, and I'm pretty sure everybody's going to have to do 2 more
two more laps. Yeah, that he's not going to get around the 89 car and
unless
and
Evan
drop down the
Peichel
one.
passes these 2.
Right.
But it looks like they're going to have to do 2 more around Suzuka circuit.
And then we're just going to have to see, can Husty find a way around the 89 car?
Well, if Eric left anything, quote unquote, in the tank, he's going to have to use it now to hold off Husty. Remember, Husty was on pole, had the early start, had a couple of second lead, lost it. Violet started on the last row of the TCRs, made his way on through, finally was able to take the lead, I believe, through the pit exchanges, and then suddenly started slowing down. Now Husty's on the charge, all the way back up. Can Husty find a way around Eric, as Eric looks like he's gone 10-10s, at least for part of this lap, to try and break that a little bit. Let's see if Husty can close up before they do their final lap.
And there's Evan Peichel now coming through the last couple of corners, coming through that Casio triangle and onto the front straight. And when he crosses the line here with only about 40 seconds left on the clock, he will be starting his last lap.
And so does everybody else behind them.
There we go. So there we go. So now we watch in TCR, and yeah, it was still 1 more lap. The 89 car is going to have to hold everybody off. In AM, we can see here now that Thomas has almost a 50-second advance, not 50 seconds, guess what, around 20 seconds on Alex Brown, currently running 2nd in AM, and then Dean Dibdahl sitting down in 3rd.
So Dibdahl's pit stop didn't really cost him any more, as the gap there between the top 3 and the rest of the AM field had grown substantial. So lucky for him, he's able to resume and finish his last couple laps. Really no worse than a podium finish there for him, assuming it's further without incident. Sorry, Rich, if there is one. But looking here at Eric Violet, now look at this ballooning to 1.5 seconds over Husty. So yeah, Eric's been kind of sitting on this, waiting to lay it down, probably until he knew how many laps were left. But he's showing that he's going to try and pull away from this race here in the last half a lap. For Husty, though, he's going to have to really be inch perfect and hope that he can maybe force Violet into a mistake. As Ricmotech is going to come up onto this battle, so this will make this last lap interesting for all 3 of these. Ricmotech, of course, been pretty quiet for him, running all by himself pretty much to the 2nd place position that he's in, and half a lap away from claiming that 2nd place. And there is our leader ready to take the checkered flag and win his 6th race in 6 tries this year.
Indeed, as Evan Peichel comes out of the final corners and onto the front straight, hugging the wall all the way there, driver's right, cutting. Don't want to go too far across there. I'm going to take out a TCR car, but taking his win here at Suzuka, 6 out of 6 in this season of the Ricmotech World Challenge. Evan Peichel in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche 911. Nick Ricmotech in the number 132 car. He's got a couple corners here remaining as he now comes out and into those final chicanes. And onto the front straight, Nick Ricmotech. He's going to come home 2nd tonight at Suzuka.
First podium of the season for Nick Ricmotech.
Indeed. And here we go. The number 89 machine. He's going to hold off. Brad Husty and take the win in TCR, as we've got Robert Hartley coming across the line. He's going to finish 3rd overall. Now let's take a look here as Nathan Thomas coming into the final corners and onto the, well, not onto the front straight yet. He's not quite far enough along for that. He's somewhere. But Nathan Thomas currently leads GT3 AM on
he's
this,
in the
very
spoon
final
curve
lap.
with
There
a
he
straightaway
is.
and a chicane to go.
Yes, he's getting pretty darn close. He's going to come down to that high-speed 130R underneath the Panasonic overpass there. bends it on in. The high-speed sweeper.
So for Ricmotech, we mentioned his first podium of the season. A previous best was a 4th place for Hartley, matching a previous best of a 3rd place. Now 3 races in a row where he'll collect 3rd places. So able to turn it on after a pretty rough start the first 4 races for him. For Hartley, able to take the last podium. But for this guy, Nathan Thomas taking the win in AM category, proving there is no pre-race commentator interview jinx.
No, well, at least not this week. And of course, Alex Brown, having already crossed the stripe, he finishes 2nd in AM. Dean Dibdahl holds on to 3rd. John Sterling finishes just off the podium. All right, so Larry, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Let's thank some of our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll talk to some of our podium finishers here from Suzuka, where you have just seen the finish of round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics, and we'll be right back.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And welcome back to Suzuka, where you've just seen the finish of round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsberg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod, and let's take a look at that. Take a look at those results one more time, where Evan Peichel takes win number 6 of 6 here in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche 911. Nick Ricmotech from HPDS comes home in 2nd in his Mercedes. Robert Hartley from Orion Racing will come home in 3rd in Pro. And if we take a look over at the AM category, Nathan Thomas from Driftline Racing, he takes the win tonight, with Alex Brown finishing 2nd and Dean Dibdahl finishing in 3rd. And then in TCR, Eric Violette from D2D Racing taking the win. Brad Husty finishing 2nd. And didn't talk much about Tom Jenkins. He had a pretty quiet race after that great start for him tonight on that very first lap, but kind of quietly dropped back a little bit, finishes 3rd tonight in TCR. So Larry, we've got a whole bunch of people sitting in the green room. Let's start off, as we typically do, with TCR, and our winner tonight from D2D Racing, it's Eric Violette.
Eric, so interesting race for you tonight. Starting at the back, make your way back up, but I need you to prove our theory of what was going on there about 2/3 of the way through the race.
Just saving tires, just picking my line with the traffic. I could see that Brad was having just a heck of a time with traffic tonight, so I was just making sure they could pass me on straights or the easy turns and things like that.
We had our theory that maybe you were run a little low on fuel. You had a pretty good quick pit stop, and maybe with this 90-minute race, the calculation was tough because your pace really did come down there. But if you're being precise, that certainly would explain it.
Yeah, no, I think I had plenty of fuel. It was tight. I always run it really tight. But if Brad got a little too close to me, I'd just lay down a lap and saving my tires. So I was able to just, I don't know if he was slipping and sliding or what, but I was able to keep the distance there.
Yeah, and all in all, a great race though between you guys. It's a lot of fun to watch the catch-up game that you made, and the two of you kind of playing cat and mouse to each other through that whole race. It's great to see these battles happening here in these TCR cars.
Yep, and like I always say, need more people out here, and we'll have even more fun.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun from where we stood. 90 minutes is a long race in these cars, but you managed to come out victorious tonight. Who do you want to give thanks to tonight?
As usually, my wife, my family for letting me do this. D2D iRacing, the great team. Actually, Esports. Then you guys, of course, for the broadcast. Pro Forma Elite Texas Graphics for sponsoring not only the league but us, and of course Ricmotech for supporting the league.
Well, awesome job tonight. You'll be happy when you take a look at those points. I'll let you look at those when you're all done here tonight. But great job getting the win here in round 6. Congrats, Eric, on that.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, there you go. Eric Violet from D2D iRacing getting his 3rd win on the season, Larry, and goes and opens up, I think, another 2 points in the championship there. Now with 184 points for him, Brad Husty with 162. So let's move over now to our AM category, and it's second time for him tonight.
Yeah.
Larry, let's bring in Nathan Thomas, finishing with the win tonight here in GT3 AM, driver of the number 10 Driftline Racing GT3 AM Lamborghini Huracan.
Nathan, I got to say congrats on the victory here in the AM category. We're always a little nervous here whenever we talk to someone pre-race that maybe it's a bit of a curse. You're disproving that theory completely and taking the win tonight, but not without some excitement for you. Tell me a little bit about how that second half of the race rolled through.
Yeah, after trying to catch up during the first half, I was like just putting my head down and trying to get to it. But yeah, the second half of the race, I saw that I was had the pace to get past Alex, so made the move on him. Everybody got through clean, and then not sure if Dean was running low on fuel. It sounds like the Porsches had some fuel like stint issues as far as how far they could go, so he may have been saving, but managed to catch up to him and make it through, and yeah, it was exciting.
Yes, very exciting, because I think you were right around that incident there with Steve Daniel and all of that as well, I think. So it got a little dicey there for a few minutes, but you managed to get yourself to the front. Just keep on pulling away. So we talked pre-race about how you kind of took a different mentality, different approach to practice and preparation. I got to say, it looked like it may have paid off.
Yeah, I guess so. And yeah, that incident with Steve, I ended up getting a 4X for it. I don't think I had any actual damage or didn't feel like that. I was still, maintaining top speed and stuff on the long straights. But yeah, I think the change in practice routine definitely helped, especially considering the kind of concise or concatenated amount of time I had this week. So I think I'll keep doing that.
Yeah, awesome job proving that putting in a little bit of that extra effort does have some payoff to you. So I got to ask, we always ask our winners, do you have anybody you want to thank for tonight's performance?
Yeah, Extreme Motorsports, definitely appreciate all the time they put into making the league great and maintaining an excellent level of racecraft and setting that expectation. Driftline Racing, family, friends, the whole teams that are racing out here and making it every week and making it exciting. And I think that's it. Appreciate you guys out there making us look good.
Well, congrats, Nathan, on your second win of the season. So one more round to go. Congrats on that performance tonight.
Thanks.
All right, there you go. And our winner tonight in GT3 AM, that was Nathan Thomas. And Larry, if we take a look at the points now after 6 of 7 rounds, Steve Daniel maintains his lead in GT3 AM. He's got a 13-point advantage over new second-place runner Alex Brown on his finish tonight. Leapfrogs Dean Dibdahl by 2 points with Brown 110 points, Dibdahl with 108, and only 3 points further back from there is John Sterling. All right, so let's move over to GT3 Pro. First, we're going to bring in our second place runner tonight, driver of the number 132 Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. Say that 10 times real fast. Nick Ricmotech.
Hey, Nick, tonight coming home with the first podium finish for you, second place here in the pro category at an extremely difficult track. It seemed that all night cars were shedding the track left and right. You managed to keep it together, come home in second spot. Tell me a little bit about what you're feeling.
I feel pretty good. It was a pretty lonely race after the first couple of laps, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you were kind of one of the only ones that managed to keep it on the track and not find yourself spinning around. What is it about this place and the enticing grass edges that everybody seems to fall victim to?
The curbs. The curbs. If you hit one of the curbs wrong, you're going to die.
Yeah, I tell you, there was a lot of that going on. But for you, yeah, like you said, you were kind of lonely a lot, but still, even lonely means you got to pick your way through that traffic. It seemed tonight it was a lot of the side-by-side with those TCRs. Any struggles for you with them?
Not really, but Jennifer was reeling me in for a bit, so I saw that Delta coming down, so that was a little nerve-wracking. Yeah, she had some good pace, but again, falling victim to those the grass and those curbs that get a little bit slippery. But you tonight managed to hang on and not have any of those offs, to keep yourself together. And a very strong second-place finish, first podium for you on the season. Anybody you want to thank for the help and support getting here? I'll thank Mr. Jose from Ricmotech and Mr. Jordan Segrini for the support.
Awesome. Gotta love it when you're thanking your competitors. So
yeah.
Great job tonight, Nick. We'll see you in a couple weeks for the finale.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, there is Nick Ricmotech, driver of the 132 HPDS Academy Mercedes-AMG GT3. All right, so Mr. Larry, next up is going to be our winner, and he's run the table so far this season, driver of the number 23 Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche 911, Evan Peichel.
Evan Peichel, boy, we're starting to have a routine here now. We end up every interview with you as, again, the winner. 6 wins, 6 rounds. This has been an unbelievable season for you, Evan. How is tonight different than maybe the last couple races?
Well, tonight it was a lot more close on feel than all the other ones. I was pretty close to getting the extra lap. My fuel calculator said I was getting the extra lap, and if I did, then I was not going to have enough fuel to finish.
Yeah, that's awfully close. It seemed a lot of folks that struggled tonight keeping their car. In addition to the fuel load, we've seen some of that, but also keeping the car on the track with all the track limits and even getting out into the grass and spinning. How close were you on off tracks tonight?
Well, I had like 22 or 23, I think.
Okay.
It was pretty challenging, and I almost went off track quite a few times.
Yeah, it's a tough place to keep it together. It's one of the most challenging tracks in the world, kind of legendary for it. But again, you appeared tonight like the master of it. 6 wins, 6 rounds, just unbelievable for you. In a couple weeks, we'll talk about championship, because I'm pretty sure there's no way you could be caught, but we'll let you sit on that for a couple of weeks while you maybe if you got some folks you want to thank and want to get them in here.
Yeah, I want to thank my grandparents and family for watching, and then my teammates as well for watching, and all the team sponsors, GSI and everybody, and GoPro. And also for Jack Harrison for doing the race with me, because that was fun. I'm not really too sure how his race went, but it was definitely a good one. And then you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and Ricmotech for letting me compete in this season.
Well, congrats again, Evan. I tell you, anybody that's watching this race just has to understand the difficulty, the time, the effort that you got to put in, and all those people helping you out to get there. This is a very difficult thing to do, to dominate in a series like this, at a track like this, and you kind of made it look easy. So congrats on that, and we'll give you the full congratulations in a couple of weeks after the last round. But boy, it's been one heck of a ride so far.
It definitely has been.
Well, congrats, Evan, and we'll see you again at the final round.
All right, see ya.
All right, there you go. Evan Peichel, tonight's winner from Suzuka in the number 23 Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing Porsche 911. And Larry, if we take a look at the standings after 6 of 7 rounds, shouldn't be any surprise. Evan Peichel sits atop the leaderboard here, 188 points. That is 21 points clear of Mike Dam, who was not here this evening, but still manages to hold on to second in the championship. Travis Schwenke improves his measure here. He moves up to 148 points. That is now 40 points out of the lead. Nick Risaputo goes and moves into I believe a tie with Jennifer McDonald now. Both of those drivers here with let's see, let me take a look here, with 141 points, and they currently sit fourth in the championship. So real tight running here. We'll have to see how that plays out. They're only 7 points back now from Travis Schwenke in third. All right, so as we wrap up things here from Suzuka, Larry, let's quickly take a look at what we've got coming up on the calendar. Next week, Monday night, December 5th, we're going to have the finale of season number 22 of the Classic Sprint Series, our Mazda MX-5 series. It is going to be at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, 60-minute run to the checkered flag. Please join us then. And then in 2 weeks, as we've mentioned, we'll have to see if Evan Peichel can run the table. We've got the finale, round number 7 of the Ricmotech World Challenge, and it's at a track that is so well suited to these GT3 cars. It's at the National Park of Speed, Road America, 75-minute run to the checkered flag. And then please make sure to join us come early January, January 9th, the Ricmotech Classic, Sports Car Series returns. There are GT4 drivers and TCR drivers. We're going to start the season off at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. Again, that is Monday night, January 9th. So for Larry Lefty McLeod, for Jonathan Grabowski, and for John Robertson, I'm Greg Ginsberg, and we'll see you next Monday night from Mid-Ohio. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.